All right, so what I want to now jump into, dive into as we're looking at chapter 10 liabilities is our next bubble, which is installment notes. All right, so think about maybe an, a great example of an installment note. First off, let's start with the definition. An installment note is equal periodic payments to the lender. So think of an example of equal periodic payments to a lender. So hopefully you maybe thought about this. And some examples is a mortgage. That is a great example if you thought of that one. If you maybe thought of a car payment or a payment on furniture, how about student loans? Boo. Anyway, sorry, my own bias. But maybe a payment of student loans. Any of those will qualify maybe probably as an installment payment. You're making a payment paying off some kind of debt. Maybe you can think of your credit card or something of that nature, okay? So the payments, if you have maybe a student loan payment, a mortgage payment, you're usually paying the same amount for that entire duration of that loan. But what I will say is that your loan is made up of, or the payment of that loan is very structured. And so that's what we'll talk about here. So let's talk about the rights of the lender. So if you decide to stop making your mortgage payment, your car payment, your furniture payment, or whatever other payment you can think of, if you decide to stop making your payment, this is what happens, right? Womp womp. Right? They tow your car, right? So the lender has if you stop making your payment, the lender has a right to take their asset back because it's not paid off. Okay. So let's look at this example. So an installment note. So for example, assume that on January 1st of year one, Lewis Company issues the following installment note from Citibank, City National Bank. So basically, maybe they're buying a car or something of that nature. So they're maybe buying a car of $24,000. Here's the interest rate, the term of the note, and their annual payment. Again, this is no different from us buying maybe a car as well, except we don't see the annual payment. Maybe we see a monthly payment, okay? So when we first buy this car, we're getting the cash, right? So usually the bank is interacting with the car dealership or something of that nature. They give them the cash, and then we're left with the notes payable, paying off that loan, basically paying off that loan. So that's what year one of the loan looks like when we first get the cash. Now, year one, this is what our journal, our journal entry look like. So every year we're making a cash payment. Our cash is going out the door. We're making a payment of $5,698. A portion is going to interest and a portion is going to the principal, so we can pay it down and be done with it, right? So now in this next slide, I love this slide because it gives you a payment schedule, right? So I can guarantee you that if you ever took out an installment loan or some kind of loan, every lender will maybe provide you with this. So I remember getting I bought a house, and I'm paying off my house, and I have a 30-year fixed mortgage. And what I will tell you is it's kind of somewhat depressing, but they sent me in my escrow documents, they sent me a list or a schedule over the next 30 years, my payments and when I'm going to be done paying off of it, right? And they show me the breakup of principal versus interest, okay? And so it's no different from what you see here. So you see in column A, your carrying amount. What you should notice from this slide is that every single year you're still paying the full amount. Your payment amount doesn't change. So think about buying a car or maybe buying a house. Your monthly payment does not change, okay? Now C is your interest expense. Now, as you can see from here, over time, your interest expense start to decrease. Now, the interest percentage never changes. It's still at 6%, but your interest amount starts to decrease, and we'll talk about that. And then lastly, you have, the decrease in the notes payable, and then lastly, the carrying amount. So what you should see in this is, over the years, your carrying amounts start to decrease. So in column E. Now that's very important, because what you should know is whenever you start when you're paying down your loan, right, the more you pay toward your principal, the less interest you will accrue. So that's why it shows that in year number 5, your carrying amount is $5,000. You pay the least amount of interest in year number 5. But in year number 1, you pay the most amount of interest because your balance is the highest. So I've always heard that if you run into extra money, it's always wise to pay an extra payment toward principal instead of just making an extra payment. Because if you're paying down your principal balance or your carrying amount a lot faster, then that means they're charging you less interest, okay? Which means you can pay off your loan a lot quicker, okay? So that's what I really wanted you guys to get from that. All right, so again, your payment never changes, but the breakup or the makeup of your payment does change, okay? So with that, I'm going to stop this video, and now we're going to get into employee fringe benefits. So before we get into that, think about, what is fringe benefit?